The signal in the wreckage. For nearly a decade, Captain Elias Rowan had made a living searching through the ghosts of forgotten wars. His salvaged ship, Nomad, drifted from one abandoned battlefield to another, collecting broken technology that governments no longer wanted and corporations had long since abandoned. The work was dangerous, lonely, and rarely rewarding, but offered one thing Elias valued above everything else: distance from the memories that haunted him. Every shattered cruiser reminded him that war consumed far more than metal. It destroyed families, promises, and futures. Elias knew that better than anyone. His only constant companion aboard Nomad was Milo, the ship's chief engineer. Practical and outspoken, Milo trusted machinery more than people. If a system failed, he could repair it. If someone betrayed you, there was no replacement part. Their latest assignment appeared ordinary enough. Long-range scanners had detected the drifting remains of a military research station hidden inside a dense asteroid field. Official records claimed the station had been destroyed 15 years earlier during the final days of the Orion conflict. Since then, no rescue team had ever returned. As Nomad approached the silent wreckage, darkness swallowed the ship. Twisted metal floated like skeletal remains against the stars, and fragments of shattered spacecraft slowly rotated through the void. It looked less like a battlefield and more like a graveyard forgotten by history. Milo studied the scanner with growing concern. Power fluctuations, he muttered. Something down there is still alive. Elias frowned. That made no sense. Emergency reactors would have failed years ago. He guided the shuttle into a fractured docking bay where artificial gravity flickered weakly. Dust floated through narrow corridors scarred by explosions. Every doorway carried black scorch marks, and every room told the story of a desperate last stand. The station was silent, too silent. As they searched deeper, their lights revealed rows of destroyed combat androids scattered across the corridors. Most had been torn apart by heavy weapons fire. Others had simply powered down where they stood, frozen forever in their final positions. Milo kicked aside the remains of a mechanical arm. Military hardware, he said. Exactly why we shouldn't be here. Elias ignored the warning. A faint sound echoed from somewhere beneath the collapsed structure. Not a voice. A pulse. Weak. Regular. Almost like a heartbeat. He followed the signal into a ruined laboratory where the ceiling had partially collapsed. Beneath layers of steel beams and shattered equipment, he noticed a pale synthetic hand. Someone, or something, was trapped. Working together, Elias and Milo lifted the twisted debris piece by piece until an entire humanoid figure emerged. She was unlike any combat android either of them had ever seen. Her white alloy frame was scarred by battle, yet remarkably intact. Fine cracks ran across her synthetic skin, exposing intricate circuits beneath. Several power conduits hung loose from an open panel in her torso, while one arm remained pinned beneath the wreckage. Dust covered her face, but her expression seemed strangely peaceful, as though she had been sleeping rather than waiting for rescue. A faded military insignia on her shoulder identified her only as Aura. 7. Milo immediately stepped backward. Leave her. Elias looked at him. She's finished. No, Milo replied firmly. She's a war android. Those machines were designed to eliminate entire platoons. If her systems restart, we may not survive long enough to regret bringing her aboard. Elias remained silent. He knelt beside the motionless android and carefully brushed away the dust covering her face. Despite the cracked armor and lifeless eyes, there was something unsettlingly human about her features. She looked less like a weapon and more like someone abandoned. His scanner emitted another weak pulse. The core was still functioning. Barely. If there's still power, Elias said quietly, then she's still alive. Milo sighed. You always find something that needs saving. Maybe because no one else will. Within the hour, they transported Aura, 7, aboard Nomad. Milo reluctantly sealed the medical workshop while Elias connected emergency power cables to the damaged android's failing reactor. Diagnostic warnings flooded every display. Memory corruption, critical structural damage, combat protocols locked, neural matrix unstable. Repairing her would take time, perhaps days, perhaps weeks. Hours passed as Elias patiently reconnected fractured circuits and replaced burnt components. Every successful repair restored another fraction of her systems. Gradually, faint blue light spread beneath the synthetic surface of her neck. The room remained silent. Then her fingers twitched. Elias froze. Her optical sensors slowly illuminated with a soft blue glow. For several long seconds, she stared directly at him without moving. No aggression, no panic, only confusion. Her damaged voice processor struggled before producing its first words in over 15 years. "Why did you save me?" The question caught Elias completely off guard. She did not sound like a machine. She sounded frightened. Before he could answer, every alarm aboard Nomad erupted simultaneously. The navigation console flashed crimson. Milo rushed onto the bridge, staring at the sensor display in disbelief. "Captain, what is it?" "We got an encrypted transmission." "From who?" "I don't know." The screen displayed a message that had originated from somewhere far beyond the asteroid field. "War Unit Aura 7 detected. Recovery protocol activated." A second notification appeared only moments later. "Target lock acquired." Someone had been searching for Aura 7, and now they knew exactly where she was. A heart that was never programmed. The encrypted warning lingered on every monitor aboard Nomad, casting a shadow over the quiet optimism that had followed Aura 7's awakening. Captain Elias Rowan immediately ordered the ship to leave the asteroid field, but even as the engines carried them into open space, he knew they were no longer traveling unnoticed. Somewhere beyond the stars, someone had begun hunting them. Milo strengthened the ship's firewalls and rerouted every communication channel. Yet the mysterious tracking signal continued to appear at irregular intervals. Whoever had activated the recovery protocol possessed technology far beyond anything carried by ordinary military patrols. For the moment, however, their greatest concern remained the damaged android resting inside the medical bay. Over the next several days, Elias devoted every spare hour to repairing Aura 7's fractured systems. He replaced damaged servos, restored corrupted memory sectors, and carefully recalibrated her neural matrix. Each repair revealed another layer of her unusual personality. She learned astonishingly fast. Simple observations fascinated her. She spent hours watching stars drift beyond the viewing window, quietly asking questions no military machine should have cared about. "Why do humans enjoy watching stars?" she asked one evening. Elias smiled without looking away from the endless darkness outside. "Because they remind us that we're part of something bigger." She processed the answer for several silent seconds. "I was created to calculate trajectories between stars," she replied softly. "No one taught me how to admire them." That single sentence unsettled Elias more than any combat protocol ever could. She wasn't behaving like a machine. She was discovering wonder. As days passed, Aura 7 became increasingly curious about human life. She listened to old recordings of music stored within Nomad's archives. She asked why people laughed, even when life was difficult. She watched Milo complain while repairing engines and seemed genuinely confused that frustration and affection could exist together between friends. Little by little, the sterile medical bay began to feel less like a workshop and more like a home. Milo remained cautious. "I don't trust her," he admitted while replacing coolant lines in the engine room. "Maybe she believes everything she's saying. Maybe someone programmed her to." Elias tightened a maintenance panel. "She's trying to understand us, or understand how to fool us." The captain said nothing. Deep down, he understood Milo's concern. Yet every conversation with Aura 7 chipped away at years of emotional walls he had built around himself. She never judged his silence. She never questioned his painful memories. She simply listened. One evening, she discovered an old photograph stored inside Nomad's computer. It showed Elias standing beside a smiling woman beneath a blue sky on Earth. "Who is she?" Aura Seven asked gently. Elias stared at the image for a long moment. Her name was Lena. You loved her. I still do. Silence settled between them. Finally, Aura, Seven spoke. I have studied thousands of military reports. She lowered her eyes. None of them explained why losing one person could hurt longer than surviving a war. Elias looked at her with quiet surprise. It doesn't make sense, he admitted. It doesn't have to. For the first time since activating, Aura, Seven smiled. It was small, almost uncertain, but unmistakably real. Several days later, another shuttle docked with Nomad. Stepping aboard was Mara Voss. Elegant, confident, and carrying the effortless charm that had once convinced Elias they would build a future together. She embraced him warmly after months apart. I've missed you, she whispered. For a brief moment, Elias believed her. He introduced Mara to Aura, Seven. The smile on Mara's face faded almost instantly. So this is the reason you ignored half my messages? It's not like that, Elias answered. She's damaged. She's dangerous. She's a survivor. Mara forced another smile, but her eyes never left the android. Throughout dinner, she barely spoke to Aura, Seven, though she carefully observed every glance exchanged between the captain and the android. She noticed how patiently Elias explained ordinary things. She noticed how naturally Aura, Seven, listened. Most of all, she noticed something Elias himself had not yet recognized. He smiled more around the android than he had around anyone in years. That realization planted a dangerous seed. Late that night, while everyone else slept, Mara quietly entered the ship's communication room. She connected a concealed transmitter hidden inside her bracelet. An encrypted channel immediately opened. Commander Victor Kane appeared as a holographic silhouette. You confirmed it? He asked. Yes, Mara whispered. Aura, Seven survived. And Elias? He trusts her. Kane smiled coldly. Good. When do I receive my payment? When the android is delivered. Mara hesitated only briefly before nodding. I'll disable the ship's defenses when your fleet arrives. The transmission ended. She erased every trace of the conversation before quietly returning to her quarters. Unfortunately, she had not been alone. While walking through the corridor, Aura, Seven, had unintentionally intercepted fragments of the encrypted signal through her enhanced receivers. The words echoed inside her memory. Deliver the android. Disable the defenses. Fleet arrives. She understood exactly what they meant. She also understood what would happen if she accused Mara without evidence. Elias would be forced to choose between the woman he planned to marry and the machine he had rescued only days ago. Aura, Seven, returned silently to the observation deck. She watched distant stars drift past the ship while processing possibilities faster than any human mind could manage. Every calculation reached the same conclusion. No matter what she chose, Elias would suffer. For the first time since awakening, the android experienced something no engineer had ever programmed into her. Fear, not for herself, for the man who had saved her. Behind Nomad, hidden beyond sensor range, several enormous warships emerged from hyperspace. Commander Kane had found them, and someone aboard the ship had already invited him in. The woman who chose betrayal. The first warning came without sound. Deep inside Nomad's navigation system, a single indicator changed from green to red before disappearing again. Milo noticed it immediately. He ran another diagnostic, convinced it was a software error, but every scan returned the same result. Someone inside the ship had overridden part of the security system. Before he could report it, the bridge windows filled with distant flashes of light. 3 massive warships emerged from hyperspace. They moved in perfect formation, surrounding Nomad from every direction. Captain Elias Rowan tightened his grip on the controls. They found us. Milo activated the defensive scanners. They're military grade. We can't outrun them. Across the bridge, Aura, Seven, stared silently at the approaching fleet. Hidden fragments of corrupted memory began resurfacing. She recognized the formation. Commander Victor Kane, the man who had commanded the project that created her. The ship's communications system suddenly came alive. A cold face appeared on the central display. Commander Kane, His gray uniform was spotless, his expression emotionless. "Captain Elias Rowan," he said calmly. "You possess government property. Return Unit Aura 7 immediately, and your crew will be allowed to leave." Elias folded his arms. "She isn't property." Kane almost smiled. "That answer disappoints me." The transmission ended. Moments later, Nomad's alarm screamed. Missile locks. Weapons charging. The hunt had begun. Elias pushed every engine beyond its safety limits, weaving through clusters of drifting asteroids while enemy cannons illuminated the darkness behind them. Explosions rocked the ship, shaking every corridor. Milo fought desperately to keep the engines online. "They're gaining. We only need one opening," Elias replied. Another explosion struck the hull. Emergency lights flooded every compartment. Then the impossible happened. The ship's defensive shields shut down completely. Every monitor displayed the same message. "Shield network manually disabled." Milo stared in disbelief. No! Someone did this from inside. His eyes immediately searched the crew manifest. Only 4 people had authorization. Himself, Elias, Aura 7, Mara. Without another word, Milo ran toward the engineering controls. Meanwhile, enemy boarding craft launched from Kane's flagship. Steel clamps locked on a Nomad's hull. Within seconds, heavily armed soldiers forced open the outer airlocks. The battle moved inside the ship. Blaster fire echoed through narrow corridors. Elias grabbed a pulse rifle and took cover beside the cargo bay entrance. Aura 7 stood beside him. "You should remain behind me," she said quietly. "You aren't fully repaired. Neither is your ship." Before Elias could answer, enemy soldiers charged around the corner. Aura 7 reacted instantly. Every movement was precise. Every shot perfectly calculated. She disabled attackers without hesitation, protecting Elias rather than pursuing unnecessary violence. Watching her fight was unlike witnessing a machine. It was watching someone risk everything for another person. Wave after wave of soldiers advanced, but Aura 7 refused to retreat. Eventually, one plasma round struck her shoulder, tearing through synthetic armor. A second blast damaged her left arm. Still, she remained standing. Back in engineering, Milo finally uncovered the truth. The security logs showed every shield command originated from Mara's personal access code. His stomach dropped. He hurried toward the bridge. There he found Mara calmly, standing beside the communications console. She wasn't frightened. She was waiting. "Mara," Milo whispered, "what have you done?" She looked at him without guilt. "I made the smart choice. You betrayed us. I protected myself." Before Milo could respond, Elias entered the bridge. His face was covered with soot from the fighting. The moment he saw Milo's expression, he understood something was terribly wrong. Milo silently projected the security recordings. Every command, every transmission, every secret communication with Commander Kane. The room fell completely silent. Elias slowly turned toward the woman he had planned to marry. "Tell me this isn't real." Mara met his eyes. "It is." "Why?" "Because love doesn't build a future." Her voice remained steady. "Power does." She stepped closer. "You spend your life rescuing broken things. Old ships, strangers, machines." Her eyes drifted toward Aura 7. "You even risked everything for her." "I risked everything for everyone aboard this ship." "You stopped seeing me." Elias shook his head. "I trusted you." "You trusted too easily." She took a slow breath. "Commander Kane offered me wealth, protection, and a place beside the winning side. And me?" She hesitated only briefly. "You were never enough." The word struck harder than any weapon. Years of memories shattered in an instant. The future Elias had imagined vanished before his eyes. Before anyone could speak again, another explosion ripped through the bridge. Enemy soldiers stormed inside. During the chaos, Commander Kane himself entered surrounded by elite guards. His attention never left Aura 7. "Mission complete," he declared. "Retrieve the asset." Aura 7 stepped forward despite the damage covering her body. "I will not return." "You have no choice." "I choose." For the first time in his career, Kane looked genuinely surprised. Two guards seized Aura. 7 while powerful electromagnetic restraints disabled her remaining combat systems. She struggled only long enough to look toward Elias. There was no fear in her expression, only sadness. You gave me something my creators never could. Her fading voice trembled. You taught me what it means to love. Those words silenced everyone. Even Mara lowered her eyes. Kane ordered his soldiers to withdraw with the captured android. As they disappeared through the shattered airlock, Elias remained frozen where he stood. The woman he had trusted most had sold him to the enemy. The one person who had remained loyal until the very end was never human at all. As Kane's flagship prepared to jump into hyperspace with Aura, 7 imprisoned aboard, Elias finally raised his head. The grief in his eyes slowly transformed into determination. He had already lost one woman he loved. He refused to lose another, even if she had been built from steel instead of flesh. The heart that chose love. Silence settled over Nomad after Commander Victor Kane's fleet vanished into hyperspace. The damaged ship drifted through the darkness, its engines barely operational. Burned circuits lined the corridors, and the smell of smoke lingered in every compartment. Yet Captain Elias Rowan barely noticed the destruction around him. His thoughts remained fixed on one image. Aura, 7 disappearing behind the enemy airlock. For the second time in his life, someone he loved had been taken away. This time, he refused to stand still. Milo found him in the navigation room only hours later, already studying star charts and hyperspace routes. You can't be serious, Milo said. There are 3 warships. I know. They outgun us in every possible way. I know. And you're still going. Elias finally looked up. When I rescued her, everyone told me she was only a machine. He paused. She proved everyone them wrong. Milo smiled faintly. Then let's go bring her home. For 2 days, Nomad followed faint traces left by Kane's fleet until they located the enemy flagship hidden within the debris of an abandoned moon. The enormous vessel floated like a fortress among shattered asteroids. Charging directly toward it would have been suicide. Instead, Milo guided Nomad through narrow fields of wreckage, using broken satellites to hide their approach. Once close enough, the 2 men slipped aboard through an abandoned maintenance tunnel. Inside the flagship, endless steel corridors echoed with marching soldiers. Every step brought them closer to the detention level where Aura 7 was being dismantled. Behind reinforced containment glass, she remained restrained by electromagnetic locks. Engineers surrounded her, attempting to extract the evolving artificial intelligence that had allowed her to develop genuine emotions. Commander Kane watched from above. You were built to obey, he said coldly. You have become defective. Aura 7 slowly lifted her head despite her failing power core. I became free. Kane signaled the technicians. Erase her personality. Before the procedure could begin, emergency alarms erupted throughout the ship. Explosions shook the lower decks. Elias and Milo had arrived. Using stolen security codes gathered during the infiltration, Milo overloaded the detention block's power grid, while Elias fought through the responding guards. The rescue quickly became a running battle. Every corridor echoed with blaster fire. Sparks rained from damaged ceiling panels. Emergency bulkheads slammed shut behind them. Despite overwhelming odds, they continued moving toward Aura 7's prison. Meanwhile, Mara Voss watched everything unfold from Kane's command center. She had expected wealth. She had expected protection. Instead, she had spent the past 2 days treated like another disposable asset. When Kane no longer needed her, he calmly ordered 2 guards to escort her to an execution chamber. There is no reason to leave witnesses, he said. Only then did Mara understand the true cost of betrayal. She escaped during the confusion caused by Elias's assault and fled through smoke-filled corridors. Eventually, she encountered Elias outside the detention chamber. For a moment, neither spoke. I made a terrible mistake, Mara whispered. I know. Can you ever forgive me? Elias looked at the woman he had once imagined spending his life beside. The anger he had carried since her betrayal slowly faded. Not because she deserved forgiveness, but because hatred no longer deserved a place in his heart. I won't seek revenge, he said quietly, but I can't walk beside you anymore. Tears filled Mara's eyes as she stepped away, finally accepting that the future she had traded for power no longer existed. Moments later, Elias reached the control console, holding Aura 7 captive. Milo bypassed the security locks just as Commander Kane entered with heavily armed soldiers. "So predictable," Kane said. "You came back for her. I keep my promises." The final battle erupted. Kane wore an advanced combat exosuit that made him stronger than any ordinary soldier. Even Elias struggled to match him. At the same time, Milo released Aura 7 from the restraints. Though badly damaged, she immediately joined the fight. Together, Elias and Aura 7 forced Kane backward through the collapsing chamber. Cornered and refusing to surrender, Kane activated the flagship's self-destruct sequence. "If I lose," he shouted, "none of you leave alive." Without hesitation, Aura 7 lunged forward and pinned Kane beneath a collapsing reactor support. The impact crushed his armor. The reactor overloaded. She looked toward Elias one final time. "You must leave." "I'm not leaving you. You already gave me a life worth protecting." Energy surged through the chamber as the unstable reactor threatened to explode. Ignoring every warning, Elias rushed into the collapsing debris. With Milo's help, he pulled Aura 7 free only seconds before the reactor destroyed the detention level. The three barely escaped aboard Nomad as Kane's flagship vanished in a brilliant explosion behind them. Safe at last, Elias carried Aura 7 back into the medical bay. Her power core had nearly failed. One by one, her system shut down. "I can't keep my eyes open," she whispered. "You will." Using every experimental component salvaged during years of exploration, Elias rebuilt her damaged neural core. Hours passed, then days. Finally, the monitors emitted a steady tone. Soft blue light returned to her eyes. She looked at Elias. "I remember everything." Relief washed across his face. "You came back. I promised." She gently reached for his hand. "I was created without a heart." Elias smiled. "No." He closed his fingers around hers. "You just had to find someone who believed you already had one." Months later, Nomad once again crossed peaceful stars. Milo resumed complaining about endless repairs, though his laughter filled the ship more often than his frustration. Mara disappeared into distant colonies, determined to rebuild a life without lies. Beside the observation window, Elias and Aura 7 watched countless stars stretch across the galaxy. Neither spoke. They no longer needed to. Together, they had learned that loyalty mattered more than perfection, sacrifice mattered more than fear, and love was never defined by flesh or steel. Sometimes the strongest heart in the universe was the one no one believed could ever beat.